Some truly stunning NFL news dropped on Tuesday afternoon. The Houston Texans have released starting safety CJ Gardner-Johnson. The move sent shockwaves across the league, and even top insiders like Ian Rappaport were caught off guard. Think about this for a second. A proven playmaker, a veteran safety with big game experience, suddenly available, and for nothing. No trade. No strings attached. Just released. For a team like the Miami Dolphins, this feels like a gift-wrapped opportunity that they cannot afford to ignore. Gardner-Johnson has been a high-impact defender everywhere he's played. He brings toughness, versatility, and leadership to the secondary, qualities Miami could use immediately. Instead of rolling with a rotation of unproven players, why not secure a proven veteran who can raise the level of the entire defense? And let's be clear, this wasn't some long-planned move. The Texans recently converted $6.58 million of his salary into a signing bonus, signaling that they expected him to be a key part of their defense all year. But with Houston stumbling to a 0-3 start, things spiraled quickly, and Gardner-Johnson ended up as the odd man out. This release is shocking. It's rare for a player of this caliber to suddenly hit the market, and it raises one big question. Will the Dolphins be bold enough to make the move? Insider reports have started to shed light on why this shocking release may have happened. According to respected Texans reporter Aaron Wilson, CJ Gardner-Johnson had grown frustrated with his role in Houston. He wanted more freedom, especially the chance to blitz, and even communicated to the team that he'd prefer a trade. Instead of working it out, the Texans decided to cut ties completely. When you dig deeper, the picture becomes clearer. In each of Houston's first 3 losses, all decided by a single score, it was a defensive breakdown on the back end that proved costly. Against the Jaguars, the Buccaneers, and even back in Week 1 versus the Rams, one explosive touchdown turned the game. And multiple reports say Gardner-Johnson was at the center of those breakdowns, not sticking to his assignments. But here's the flip side. If blitzing is what he wants, Miami is the perfect fit. The Dolphins are one of the most aggressive defenses in the entire NFL. In fact, they've blitzed at the second highest rate in the league through the first 3 weeks, trailing only the Atlanta Falcons, and by less than 0.5%. That aggressive style has been both a strength and a weakness. Miami loves sending pressure, but at times it's left the secondary exposed, allowing quarterbacks to make quick throws for easy gains. The Texans, by comparison, sat back with a blitz rate of just 25.8%, ranking in the bottom half of the league. So imagine this. A fiery, playmaking safety who wants to blitz, joining a defense that thrives on bringing the heat. Gardner-Johnson's intensity could match perfectly with Miami's identity, and that's what makes this move so tempting. Here's what makes this even more intriguing. The Dolphins blitz at nearly 15% higher than the Texans, and a lot of that pressure comes directly from their secondary. Take a look at how Miami uses its defensive backs. Nickel corner Jason Marshall Jr. brings pressure on 13.5% of his snaps. Cornell Armstrong has blitzed at over 8% in limited action. Safeties like Dante Trader Jr., 8%, Minkah Fitzpatrick, 5%, Ashton Davis, 4.8%, and Ifeatu Melifonwu, 4.3%, all get involved. Now compare that to CJ Gardner-Johnson. With the Texans, he blitzed at just 5.6%. But that's not because he can't do it. It's because he wasn't being used the way he wanted. Plug him into Miami's system, and that number would skyrocket. He'd slide right into that box safety role, firing off the edge, disrupting quarterbacks, and crashing down against the run. Exactly the kind of aggressive style that fits his skill set. And here's the kicker. Gardner-Johnson has already proven throughout his career that he thrives when he's allowed to play downhill and attack. That's the kind of fire Miami's defense desperately needs. From my perspective, this feels like a slam dunk opportunity. Sure, he might hesitate to join another team that stumbled out of the gate, but if Gardner-Johnson is serious about making an impact and getting the freedom he craves, Miami could be the perfect stage. Let's be real here. Miami's secondary desperately needs help. We can talk about blitz percentages and usage all day, but the bottom line is this. The Dolphins safety group has been flat out terrible. Some would argue it's been one of the worst safety rooms in the entire NFL. Think about it. Questions at cornerback, questions at tight end, and now serious questions at safety. According to PFF grades, If you filter for safeties who have played at least 20% of defensive snaps, there are 84 players who qualify. Among Miami's regular rotation, Minkah Fitzpatrick ranks 31st, solid, but not elite. The rest? Ashton Davis, Dante Trader Jr., and Ifeatu Melifonwu will all sit in the bottom 25 of the league. That's simply unacceptable for a team trying to contend. Now compare that to CJ Gardner-Johnson, who comes in ranked 40th overall. That might not sound spectacular, but it's a clear upgrade over what Miami currently has. And here's the key. This isn't about stunting the growth of a young player like Trader Jr., he deserves time to develop. But veterans like Davis and Melifonwu have struggled badly, and at some point, enough is enough. So the choice is clear. Ride with a safety unit that continues to give up big plays, or bring in a proven veteran who can instantly raise the level of this defense. For me, it's no contest. Gardner-Johnson is the better option, both right now and for the stability Miami's defense desperately needs. Now, getting back to CJ Gardner-Johnson and why he could fit in Miami's defense, what stands out most is his attitude. He plays with fire, intensity, and an edge that this Dolphins secondary desperately needs. In fact, his style reminds me a lot of Willie Gay Jr., the Dolphins linebacker who has been one of the team's highest-graded defenders this season despite seeing limited snaps. Both players bring energy, physicality, and a fearless mentality every time they step on the field. Gardner-Johnson doesn't just show up to play, he shows up to compete. He's fiery, he's physical, and he never backs down. Week after week, you'll see him jawing with opponents, getting under their skin, and setting the tone with his toughness. That kind of edge can completely change the personality of a defense, and it's something Miami has been missing. Call it a hot take if you want, but this defense needs more fire, more fight, and more edge. And that's exactly what CJ Gardner-Johnson brings. Beyond his energy, he offers something Miami's defense values most: versatility. In an Anthony Weaver system, players are constantly moving, blitzing, shifting into the slot, dropping into deep coverage. Gardner-Johnson fits that mold perfectly. This season with Houston, he's lined up in the box 89 times, at free safety 83 times, and in the nickel 29 times. That's a true do-it-all defender. Now, his coverage stats haven't been elite. He's allowed 6 completions on 8 targets, giving up over 14 yards per catch with a passer rating of 100.4 against him. But here's what stands out. He's trending upward. After a shaky opener against the Rams, he rebounded in weeks 2 and 3 against Tampa Bay and Jacksonville, showing clear improvement. On PFF, he sits as the 40th ranked safety, with a solid 63.4 overall grade. His best work? Run defense, where he posted a 71.2 grade. Yes, tackling consistency has been an issue, with a miss rate around 20%. But when you combine his physicality, downhill speed, and relentless energy, you see why he'd fit in Miami's system. You can debate whether his personality fits every locker room, but one thing you cannot question is his spirit, intensity, and fight on the football field. And for a Dolphins defense searching for answers, that's exactly the kind of presence they need. Over the past 2 weeks, CJ Gardner-Johnson has shown clear signs of improvement. Against the Buccaneers, he allowed only about 30 yards in coverage, and against Jacksonville, he didn't surrender a single catch according to PFF charting. Compare that to Week 1 against the Rams, where he gave up over 80 yards to weapons like Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams in what turned into a slugfest, and you can see the growth. That progress is exactly why Miami should be interested. The Dolphins' pass defense right now is near the bottom of the NFL. Through 3 weeks, they rank 21st in yards allowed per game, second to last in yards per play through the air, and dead last in EPA per pass. Opposing receivers are creating too much separation, and by nearly every metric, this secondary has been a bottom 5 unit, if not the very worst in football. So even if Gardner-Johnson isn't perfect, even if there are concerns about a blown assignment here and there, he's still an instant upgrade over what Miami has on the field right now. The truth is simple. The Dolphins' defense cannot get worse than it's been. It can only get better, and Gardner-Johnson would make it better. The question is whether Miami's front office, led by Chris Grier, is willing to make the move. Gardner-Johnson was frustrated with losing in Houston, and with the Dolphins sitting at 0-3, you wonder if he'd want to join another struggling team. But this much is clear. Miami at least needs to make the call, test the waters, and see if he's willing to wear the aqua and orange. Because if they don't, another team will, and the Dolphins will have missed a golden chance to strengthen one of their weakest units.